Buddy Japing here checking in, respectmyregion.com, back with another episode of the RMR podcast. We've got a very special guest here today. We've got Ian Rassman. He's the executive director of Los Angeles Normal. He has 20 plus years of experience doing payment processing related activities. And so I'm really excited to have you on today. Ian, you're also a friend, family. So how you living? Good fucking morning, bro. What's good?
I'm good. We are friends. We are family. We've been rolling around the world together, hitting cannabis events. I like it.
Well, I might catch you in Spain. I might catch you in Illinois. I might catch you in Vegas. Who knows?
Never know where we're going to run into each other.
Ireland? Who knows?
Oh, let's go to Ireland.
Right?
They've got a very tiny little medical cannabis program that needs to be blown up. It's ridiculous. They got 8 people in the program for a country of 4 million.
G8.
Joke. It's a
Wow.
joke. 8. No, single digits. 8.
Wow, that's wild. Well, today we've got a very particular episode, Ian. I was literally over in Michigan last week in Detroit, and we were working with a certain group, and everyone started freaking out because the payment processing stuff went down. Retailers, deliveries, stores, brands couldn't take payments. They couldn't send payments to vendors. It was a shit show. It's like one of those days when that happens. It's not necessarily Armageddon in cannabis, but fuck, it's pretty damn close. And so,
It's painful.
man, I wanted to really unpack this topic today because there's so much that goes into cannabis payment processing, this culture of cannabis business, right? Just this umbrella of cannabis business, how to do it, right? And then you have you have traditional money, you have banks, you have credit card providers, you got the federal government, you got all these variables that go into things. And so I was hoping that you could help the people that don't necessarily understand what's going on and what this all means. Just get a layman's understanding, but then also to really dive into what the hell do people do when they've got no ability to take money as a dispensary or as a delivery.
Yeah. There have been, in the really many years I've been doing payment processing for cannabis, there have been numerous times that various different providers have gone down or left the industry is really what happens most of the time. And this causes chaos because everybody that is processing with that processor basically gets little to no notice that their solution's going away. And they could come in the morning and all of a sudden it's just not working. So they've been expecting business as usual, taking payments, coming in.
They're paying for staff, electricity, food, water, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And your ability to pay your vendors is very clearly based on your ability to take in money from your customers and process it into your bank in a timely manner so that you have the funds there when it's time to buy product or pay vendors. So payments inbound on a regular, reliable basis is really important to the cash flow of your business.
So we break it down like this. You're a dispensary, or I'm a dispensary, right? J Ping THC shop, right? And I've been working with not Ian Rassman for the last few years, right? I worked with a friend of mine who does payment processing. He hooked me up. He's a LinkedIn guru, right? Got all the recommendations, right? All the hype, right? Shout out to all the LinkedIn gurus and consultants out there, right? And then my payment still goes down. Yeah. What do I do next? Obviously, because I see this post, I call you. What happens from there?
From there, I learn a little bit about your business, what kind of requirements you may have for payments. There's quite a varied landscape, as you know. People will be using different point of sale systems, and so I want to find out what point of sale system you're using at Joey Ping THC. I want to find out what your customer base is like. where you're located. Are you doing delivery only? Are you doing curbside pickup, or is it all brick and mortar, traditional? These are many of the things that I want to know as I kind of guide you into a payment solution. Number one, first step for me is to come in, listen, and learn about your business, and then I'll be able to provide some valuable suggestions on options for you. So
Yeah,
that's,
you're kind of doctoring up someone's business, right? At that point, right? You're
oh
not
yeah.
they've got a wound, and you're there not only to fix that wound, but to listen, learn, feel, empathize, and really relate to that situation, so that way you can solve that problem at the highest level.
Payment processing is a service, right? So it's very service oriented. It's very customer service based. Merchants need to know that they have somebody at the other end of the phone when they need them. That merchants know when they call me, my phone is right near me, and I'm going to answer it every single time. Doesn't even matter the phone number coming in, because this is a service based business. You need to be available for your customers when they have a question, 24/7. Of course, most dispensaries aren't really open 24/7, but
But now there are some.
there are, yeah.
Yeah,
I
we got
don't have.
Arizona and Planet 13. Arizona's
Oh yeah,
mint cannabis, and then P13 over there in Vegas.
yeah.
Um, Well, yeah, I mean, as someone in the service industry myself, right? Really understanding that you're got to make yourself available. That level of customer service is important, because what happens, right, is, you're closing up your shop in Washington. You can close up at midnight. They are open until midnight. Other states, it's not allowed like that. And so it's like some states you've got midnight, then all of a sudden an issue could literally happen at 12:15 when they're done counting money, right? And what's going to happen? They're going to call the owner of the store. They're going to call the general manager. They're not going to know what the hell's going on. The first thing they're going to think is, "Oh, check your cards. Check this. Is the payment processing down?" Right?
Mhm.
So when it comes to these different, so you learn and listen about their business and what they do and how they operate, and then you have a variety of partners. I remember you telling me offline about all these different partners and providers and processors, and they all have their own little thing and their specialties, right? Now, without going too much into the details, who are these big payment processing partners? I've heard of groups like Paybotic and so on and so forth down the line.
Mhm. Yeah. So these most of the payment processors out there are independent sales organizations. This is an industry term, ISO, independent sales organization, and it basically means that you are providing all the front end service on the merchant services account, and then you have the banks at the other end that are actually moving the money and receiving the deposits. This is a little bit the landscape of the payments industry, and there are really a lot of payment processors across the country, surely thousands.
Thousands of options. So when you were deciding who you were going to partner with, or when you're making these recommendations, what are some of those green flags and red flags that help you identify who to work with?
We'll stick to the cannabis topic here for a moment, because I've been a payments guy, like you said, for a very long time, in a very traditional role: bars, restaurants, plastic surgeons, attorneys, all this kind of stuff. But cannabis is really very different than everything else, because it's the uh, only vertical where we're not really federally legal yet.
Hmm. It's,
So.
it's interesting that, like, as we inch closer and closer to this legalization, right, which is all just press and media and rumors, um, we're still so far away, right? Because we recently saw payment processing stuff happen go down literally last week, right? And it was a big one. It was two or three of them that decided they weren't going to play ball anymore, if I'm not mistaken.
It's generally what happens, is that a payment process or some link in the chain decides that the regulatory hurdles or the compliance has just become too much for them, or they just don't feel that this is the right business for them. I'll be honest with you, managing a dispensary for payments is more onerous and more difficult than for me managing a law firm and their
Wow.
law firms like really straightforward on payments. There's nothing unusual about it. Cannabis payments are really quite different because you have a state legal business entity that has really no federal recognition, and so this is where the trouble comes in. And the compliance, and there's just a lot more work if you're going to handle processing for a dispensary. There's a lot more work involved in KYC, which is industry lingo for know your customer, and AML, which is anti money laundering. So the processors and the merchants, everybody is responsible to provide real valid information about their company, demonstrate that they're licensed in their state. And then once those transactions start coming through, you might, as a dispensary, you might be taking in, 10, 20, $1,000 a day in payments. And now these are going to start showing up in your bank account the next day. And your bank is responsible to know where this money's coming from. They have to know where it's coming from. So they're gonna take a look at me and my company, and they'll be like, who is this guy that's depositing money in here? And is he a part of the Kim Jong-un regime in North Korea? Like, we can't have that. So they really have a responsibility to know exactly who we are and to know exactly who the merchant is. And then when those deposits start coming in, they're big volume deposits. And I'm sure most people know that the minute that you make a deposit at your bank of greater than $10,000, it triggers action items. It triggers a SAR report, SAR. It's a suspicious activity report just immediately for the volume of a $10,000 deposit. This is already a suspicious activity. Okay. So they're going to
So like
investigate.
anybody depositing 10 bands, you're suspicious.
Yeah. Well, you're going to get reported to the IRS. Like if I give you a check for 10, you go put it in your bank, you're going to get flagged immediately, and they're going to look to see where this money came from and understand it, and they're going to tell the IRS about it too, so that they know that Joey got 10 grand, right?
Mhm.
So this is why you see people flying with less than $10,000 cash on them and making deposits of less than $10,000. This is not an option for a dispensary. This money's coming, it's going in, and you better be able to know your customer and prove that you're not money laundering. So there's extra work for the banks and the processors to manage this cash flow. Truly extra work that's beyond the work that they would do if it was an attorney office. So therefore, a little bit extra work and attention on these things. And sometimes payment processors decide that this is really not the business for them. There's too much work. Maybe they haven't picked up enough clients. Maybe the infrastructure for them, it's just not worth it. Maybe they're huge and doing really well in home housewares, for example. Many payment processors will focus on an industry because it gives you time to build your reputation in that industry, let people know about you. You become an expert in that industry. So if you're going to do this for cannabis, there's more work and more paperwork involved. And sometimes processors decide, it's just not really worth it for us. We weren't really making all that much money and all this
Mhm.
extra work. We're just going to go back to our normal everyday stuff that we know really well. And we don't have, the banks and the IRS and regulators all looking at every single deposit coming in. It's just too much work for us. And we make great money doing something else. So this is, what happens internally. All these companies are run by a board of directors. The board of directors sit down at a conference table and they're like, what do you guys think about this vertical? Should we stay in cannabis, or is this worth it? Are we making good money? And then they may decide to get out. Just maybe too much effort for them. So
That's
people
crazy.
disappear. Processors disappear, and they may give you notice and say, hey, Friday's your last day. You need to find another solution. And that's a scramble. I mean, that's just hell to get notified like that. If you're lucky, you get notified. Sometimes they're just gone.
That's wild. That is absolutely wild. I can't imagine being in that position. I mean, having been on the marketing teams at dispensaries and stuff in the past, I definitely was used to having, internet go down and then you can't take anything digital for the day. That was tough. And then you're scrambling to AT&T or T-Mobile to go get hotspots to power everything. Maybe you get a half day of revenue still, do everything by hand, but it's just what an awful thing to have to go through, and an awful way to have to pivot.
Yeah.
Uh, just sucks.
Oh, yeah.
So systems go down, company disappears, banks decide they're not going to work with cannabis brands anymore. On the dispensary side of things, what happens? Is their accounts are just froze, the money?
No, they're usually when your payment process. Let's say that you have a good processor and you're getting your deposits in like 24 hours. It's usually what I do. So like, you swipe a credit card or you swipe a card on Monday, you will receive your deposit on Tuesday. Generally, when these processors disappear or their solutions are gone, you still get your deposits. Like the deposits that were coming to you, those come in. That's generally not the issue. A little further back in the cannabis industry, there were many solutions out there that were closed loop solutions, and people did get left holding the bag where they were, expecting to get $40,000 deposits throughout the week, but then the company shut down, and that's gone. They don't get that.
Wow.
I know many people that were left in a lurch like that, where a card processing solution is owing them tens of thousands of dollars. Now, it's really been a few years since I have direct knowledge of that happening with anybody. But rewind the clock in cannabis 5, 6, 7 years ago, that was happening, and that was a thing, and that's terrible. All of a sudden, you've sold product, the product's gone, and now you
Yeah.
don't have money to pay your vendors for it. It's calamitous, right?
That's terrible. I mean, people are already having to deal with the high taxes, and the different fees, and the BCC breathing down people's neck. Now they're actually enforcing things, and um, to have something you paid for not even work and then ultimately disappear. Absolutely what a horrific situation to be in. What
Absolutely.
what do you recommend? So let's just continue down this path. So you mentioned, it's been a couple years since you've heard that people haven't gotten their payments, when people get shut down. So that week people get shut down, obviously people always, need to have a backup, right? So what would you say separates just, maybe you and the partners that you work with compared to some of the other groups, and why they're getting shut down?
I have been in the payments industry for a really very long time. Cannabis for nearly half of that time. Um, and what I've learned is that it's really in the partnerships that you make. For me, making partners with processors and underwriters and banks that are really into this game for the long term. They're focused on it, and they're ready to ride through all the challenges. They're not such a mega big bank that cannabis makes up, like a quarter of a percent of their volume. The partners that I pick, they're focused on cannabis, and they're here for the cannabis game, and they're investing in the infrastructure and the back end, and they're here for the long term. So I think that the difference in what's helped my customers is that I've been very, very careful about the partnerships that I make. And I've got good partners that are really here to be in this game for the
Yeah.
long term.
I think those just couple of things make a huge difference, right? There's plenty of big banks out there, and there's people that are dabbling a little bit, but if they're not standing 10 toes down with us, just beside us, then as soon as they have 5 or 10 or 20 problems, that's just too much for them, right? It's just friction where they didn't used to have friction, right? It's an extra
Yep.
project where they're not even making that much money on it yet, and so to work with those partners that not to say they're relying on cannabis, but they're intentionally trying to push into cannabis and rely on it a little bit more and expand into it more. Definitely a unique way to go about building partners, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, Now, having these strong partners, people that are in cannabis and really willing to do it, um, that sounds to me like that's the key here. That's the magic sauce, right? And so for the people that are in need of more consistent, more dedicated banking partners, processing partners, what is the best way that they can reach out to you, Ian?
Oh, you can just plug my name into Google, my phone number and everything pops up. My phone number, 310-466-9292, always ready to receive phone calls. We talked about a little earlier. My phone's always close by and I'm always ready to pick it up. I have a website, rassman.com, Rassman. A lot of information about me and what I do there. And you can always reach out to Respect My Region. Everybody there knows how to get a hold of me.
Yes, sir. We will happy to plug you in. Everybody watching this episode, really appreciate you guys. We just wanted to connect. Ian and I were at Taco Tuesday a couple of days ago, and just seeing him reminded me of being on the floor in Michigan at MJ Unpacked and just chatting with some of the different payment processors and POS groups, and just watching the panic on their sales reps' eyes as they had to go manage accounts instead of focus on selling, because now there was a shit ton of problems arising, right? And I can only imagine how stressful that is to be on both sides of that. I do sales now, selling weed to the retailers, right? And when they've got a problem, it's my problem too, you know? And so to really try to be there with them and feel that uh, in real time, right, at a major trade show, it was just interesting, and I really felt for him. And so when I saw you, I thought this would be a great idea. We got to reconnect on this. Ian, is there anything else that you want to share about what people should do when their cannabis payment processing goes down? We talked a little bit about retailers. What about brands? Is there anything you recommend for brands and what they should do when their payment processing goes down?
Typically, brands are selling either through the retailers or on e-commerce, right? That's typically how brands are selling direct, is e-commerce, which I do a lot of e-commerce in cannabis as well. This is less of an issue for this going down. It's more of a process to get onboarded for selling cannabis products. Fortunately, I have a lot of great partners for e-commerce. So that's not as tough, I think. But when we go back to talking about retailers, I think it's important to have your plan and your backup plan and the backup plan for your backup plan, right? It's all about being prepared. It's great. You want to, even for me, when people come to me and they want payment processing solution, I bring them in my A plan, best plan, get them set up, but I have a backup plan for them. Just in case anything happens, I'm ready to go with another bank, another underwriter, another processor. I've got it all lined up, and the key is to minimize any downtime whatsoever. Have your backup plan ready to go. Your backup plan as a retailer should include numerous things. Number one, you should be ready to switch to an all cash situation. It's not the best. We know that it increases theft, crime, miscounting by staff and employees. And like, where'd that money go? You know, but you need to have a good plan for cash management. As much as as we all don't like handling cash, the proverbial duffel bags of cash are terrible. Nobody wants a duffel bag of cash, but you should be ready in case you have to go that way. You also want to have a physical ATM in your store always. I do ATMs also, provide those as well. But you want multiple payment options. You want a fully stocked ATM that's got a lot of cash in it, ready to be dished out whenever you need it. You don't want your ATM machine running out. You want your payment solution so people can accept card payments. And then, so be prepared for future outages. They will come. We've
Mm-hmm.
seen this. 2023, I would say I've seen more payment disruptions in this year than I have seen in previous years. It's funny, as we inch closer to legalization, it seems like payments don't seem to be inching in that same direction,
Yeah,
which
they're going steps backwards.
maybe possibly. There's definitely been numerous disruptions in 2023. I think we've had at least 3 significant nationwide disruptions where many people went down. The most recent one being just over the last 2 weeks. Have a backup plan. Have somebody like me that brings you your A solution, but I'm ready to step in with my B solution in a minute
Yeah.
if A solution goes down. And this is part of just planning and being prepared. So be ready for cash management, be ready for a backup plan. Be ready. What else do you need to be ready for? You need to be ready for volatility as a dispensary owner. Anything can change. Your bank, something we didn't touch on yet, I highly recommend, really, I insist on it with all of my customers that their bank knows exactly what they do. No ambiguity whatsoever. It's like literally the first question I ask people when I start talking to them. Who's your bank? And do they know that you're a cannabis company? And if I get anything like a, well, we don't talk about it very much, or they know, but they don't say anything, like that's just not good enough. It needs to be absolutely clear. I need to hear that confidence. Oh, yes, my bank knows I'm a dispensary. They know exactly what I do. And then I'm like, great, this is a good foundation that I can build on. And then if I hear anything less than them having a great foundation, then I'm fortunate to have solid partners in all 50 states that are ready, willing, and able to service cannabis companies, financial institutions like banks and credit unions. And it's really important that you are with a financial institution that's ready to handle your suspicious activity reports and to handle you as a cannabis business. That's a critical piece in being prepared. Excuse me, solid banking, absolutely critical.
Solid banking, really really good structure, and a strong foundation of, like, just what you say, ambiguity, just being open and transparent about the business and what's happening, making sure that they know, and the whole flow and process of what they're doing, how they're handling those suspicious activity reports that they've got to send in for the 10K. Most dispensaries are A lot of dispensaries don't hit 10K a day, but a lot of them do. And so imagine every day, 365 days a year, you're hitting at least one or two or three of those. In some cases, 7 to 10 a day, right?
Mhm.
And like that is absolutely crazy to think about.
Your
Uh,
bank has to be ready for this. They have to know that you're a dispensary and that you are bringing in large deposits, and that it's okay. And that they know where these deposits are coming from. The banks typically want to know who I am. They're like, well, who's this guy doing the processing? We want to know about that. And so, I always have to put my information out there and my company's information so that the bank knows who's managing these inbound funds.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Ian, what's your what's your official title? What do you say? So I know for the future.
As you pointed out earlier, I'm the president and executive director at Los Angeles Normal. We are a nonprofit organization that is Normal, NORML, National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. I run the Los Angeles chapter here in LA. We are arguably the largest cannabis friendly city on the planet. And really, rather than running down to City Hall and focusing on reforming our cannabis laws, which are not so bad here in LA, yes, there's work that needs to be done, but it's not like other parts of the country where prohibition is still in effect. So we have chosen to focus on a mission of love, light, and mercy within the industry. You know about my cannabis donation program. Over the last 3 years, we've donated over $6 million worth of medical cannabis to veterans, cancer patients, lupus, Crohn's, MS, Huntington's, Parkinson's, all these things that people suffer from. We have a program whereby the industry donates product through this program and gives it out to members of the community. So I'm really thrilled to be a part of such a beautiful mission. This is my role with Normal. As you know, I run a very popular cannabis event calendar. I really believe in community building. You and I see each other all around the world because you and I are informed, and we know when MJ Unpacked is coming up. We
Mhm.
know when Any Can is coming up, and we know when Benzinga is next, because these are the places where we all need to meet each other. So I run a very popular cannabis event calendar, also at my website, rassman.com. And this is really a roadmap of where industry people, what they should have on their radar to meet up with new vendors, industry people. These are the important things. I believe it's really important that we all come together and have this place to make these connections. So I run that calendar. And then, like you said, I've been doing payments for a very, very long time. And this is my daily gig.
The daily gig, man. Cannabis payment processing. He can also do payment processing for other businesses. So if you guys have any questions, you guys need to know anything about the world of taking money, making money, growing money, printing money. I'm just kidding. But the ATMs, all those different things. Ian is definitely a really solid resource. You guys, you can catch us just about. You can catch Ian every Tuesday if he's in America and not traveling somewhere. You can catch him every Tuesday down at Baja Venice, formerly Baja Cantina, in Marina Del Rey, and for a Taco Tuesday from usually about 4 to 8 o'clock. Uh,
420.
yeah, 420 sesh there for sure. Lots of smoking at the beach or on the Venice Canal. It's a vibe.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm there occasionally as well. I'm working on getting back there consistent, so maybe you guys will catch me there too.
Yeah.
Um, Everybody, thank you guys for hanging out and watching. LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook. Appreciate you guys for hanging out today. We've got Ian Rassman, the executive director and president of Los Angeles Normal. He also takes care of lots of payment processing stuff as well. So be sure to tap in, like, follow, subscribe. Reach out to him directly. You can visit RASSMAN.com, Rasman.com. Shoot him an email there, or you can reach out directly to us. Ian, I appreciate you, bro.
I appreciate you too, Joey. Always a pleasure hanging out with you.
I hope you guys found this episode valuable, and we will see you next time. Love y'all. Peace.